Welcome guys to this video where I'm going to show you around project 1 where we are going to deploy a Java Spring Boot app to our EC2 instance. In this project, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to first of all deploy step by step in a manual manner so that we see the different steps that we'll be using Jenkins to actually deploy. But if not, the application architecture works as follows. We have two repositories, one for our application infrastructure code, the other for the application code. In our infrastructure code, we are going to be keeping our Terraform files in such a way that using those different files, we can run our Terraform apply to deploy our infrastructure composed of our EC2 instance, CloudWatch dashboards, IAM roles, and our requested certificates. In our second repository, what we are going to do is that we are going to store in our code, because our repository, our infrastructure code in repository 1 should not have anything to do with the application code. So for best practices, we have to separate the infrastructure code and the application code. So in the application code now, each time the developer now pushes to the branch that is tied to Jenkins, Jenkins is therefore going to trigger a build process, which is obviously going to run Maven build. Maven, since it's a Java web application, after it builds, we can scan for vulnerabilities and upload our code to our Tomcat server running on EC2 instance. After the application has been successfully deployed, our users will be able to, via Route 53, access our web application. For our feedback, each time that there is a build, be it successful or failed, we want to have the notifications on Slack to inform us on the build status, and probably links to the build logs and the build ID and so on. We need the Grafana to have a graphical user interface such that we'll be able to see the different metrics that our EC2 instance is having, such that we'll be able to monitor the memory, we'll be able to monitor our CPU utilization, and so on and so forth. So first off, what we are going to do is that we are going to configure this our instance. So we are going to launch the EC2 instance on AWS console, deploy the application manually so that we see first how the application works, and then next what we'll do is that we're going to configure Jenkins to be able to deploy the application, so that our developer will simply push code and the pipeline will be triggered. After we're able to do that, we'll therefore return in our part 2 of our video to tear down this infrastructure that we did manually and use Terraform now to deploy everything, including our EC2 instance and our Grafana instance. So let's head on to the console and see how it works. Presently, I signed in into my AWS console. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to head on to EC2. I'm going to launch an EC2 instance that is going to have will serve as our host. We are going to have Tomcat, Jenkins, and so on installed in it. I'm going to launch my instance. Launch instance. Let me call it a web server. Let me choose Ubuntu. Instance type, I'm going to be going with T3 medium. T3 medium. Key pair, I'll continue without a key pair. For security group, I'm going to select my default security group. For storage, I'm going to go in with 20 gigabytes. And for advanced settings, I want to put in my user data that is going to run the different installation processes, because I want Tomcat installed, I want Jenkins installed. So presently we are going to look at our user data that we are going to use to install the different tools that are needed to run our application. So basically we want Java 17 installed, we want Java 21, Maven, and other utilities. So here is going to install Java 17. We're going to install Java 21 and Maven, and these are the utilities now that are going to permit us to install those. So here, for instance, is going to configure the Java alternatives. First installs Java 17 and then Java 21 and sets Java 21 as default. It's going to run Java version in, and if we check the logs, we are going to see the output of this command will actually be Java 21, since it's installed after Java 17. Now, well, these are exports for the Java, the different Java installations. We are going to set this file java.sh to be executable. And now we have to install Jenkins now, where the Jenkins will be running on Java 21. So these commands, we have to check the updated version of it from the official documentation and run these commands. This will first of all download this and install Jenkins. After that, we are going to force Java to explicitly use version 21, which is most recent. Version 17 is no more suitable for Jenkins. So after Jenkins has been installed, we need to go further to installing Tomcat. Tomcat is the web server where our Java application is going to be running. So we are going to first of all create the user. After the user has been created, the user's name is well, we're creating the Tomcat user, which is the name there is Tomcat actually. And after that, we're going to be installing Tomcat itself. We want to install version 9.0.96. So we, first of all of these we can still check them online to make sure we are getting the exact version. But by the way, since this is a specific version, we need not check against further, since the version has been specified there. But if in case we're trying to install the most recent, that's where we have to be sure that the most recent is actually the version that is displayed there. So we are using this particular version because our application has been configured to work on this version. If there are subsequent updates, that's where we'll have to update our version, so that it can, we'll first of all have to update our pom.xml file so that it can accept this version of Tomcat. So after having installed all of those, we'll now have to change the owner of Tomcat, that Tomcat folder that has been created, so that Tomcat itself will have total access to that folder, such that it will be able to uncompress the artifact that has been deployed to it. Now we'll have to change port, the Tomcat port from 8080 to 8081, because on this particular server we are running both Jenkins and Tomcat. Well, it's for experimental and learning purposes. If not, would obviously supposed to run Jenkins on its own server and the web server environment on another server. But since we are trying to do both in one, and the default port for Jenkins is the same as the default port for Tomcat, so we have now to change. And by doing so, we have to search for the port 80 inside this file, the server.xml that is found inside this config file, and change it now from 8080 now to 8081. In that case, now Tomcat now will be able to run on port 8081, and Java will be running on Jenkins will be running on port 8080. So now we have to create a Tomcat systemd service with these settings. These are the settings that I tested, and I saw that it accepted our application. So we have to configure these settings as is, for our Tomcat to run on it successfully. And we have now to carry out the different reloads in order to enable the different services that are just from installing. So that is it about our user data. So I'm going to copy my user data. I'll select all and paste it here. I could even rather choose the file and upload it. I'm going to launch my instance. I'm going to give it some time to initialize. So I'm going to pause my video and come back when it's done. So my EC2 instance is up and running. I have to connect to it. Connect to via instance connect. Connected. Let me check the different tools that I installed. Let me start with MVN version. I see that I have 3.8 that have been installed. Let me check systemctl status Jenkins. Jenkins is up and running. Let me check Tomcat. It's Tomcat 9. Tomcat 9 is up and running as well. So presently what I have to do now is that I have to clone the code and build it inside my EC2 instance and check the build artifact. After checking the build artifact, I have to copy my build artifact and put it inside Tomcat and make a Tomcat to restart it. So what I'll do is that I'm going to come to the repository. You can get this code from this repository, and we come to code. I'll copy the URL and come here. What I'll just do is that I clear my screen. I'll say git clone. I'll paste the URL there. It has been cloned. I can say ls and you see it's there. Let me cd into the project. And ls, everything is there. Yeah, so what I'll do is that I'm going to say mvn clean package -d skip tests. So what this command is going to do is that it's going to cleanly build our artifact ready for it to be deployed. So when we run the command for the very first time, it's going to download all these dependencies and build our artifact with it. But if we run the same command as the next time, it will not need to download all of this. So all of this would have been cached inside our EC2 instance. So what we have to do is just to be patient for it to download all the artifacts, the resources that is needed to build our artifact. So we just need to be patient about that. So we see here that the build has been successful. After that, let's check now. We're going to see that there is a new folder that was created, which is a target, and inside the target we have our artifacts. Lineartech v1.var. Okay, so we're going now. What we're going to do is that we have to copy this file and put it inside our Tomcat. But before doing that, we have to first of all stop Tomcat. So I have a series of commands here for us to run and update our Tomcat. So what I'll do is that I'll first of all run sudo systemctl stop Tomcat. It has to first of all stop Tomcat. So Tomcat has been stopped. Let me run system ctl status Tomcat 9. You have to see that it is inactive, right? After that, we have to run this command to actually remove the default artifact that is there. So what I'll do is that I'm going to copy this, paste it there. The artifact has been removed. Next, what I have to do is that I have to run this next one to verify if they are gone. So here we see nothing concerning anything that has to do with root. So neither root nor root.war, no .war file is there. So what we have to do now is that we have to copy the artifact and if you run the previous command now, we'll see that the artifact has been copied here, but the difference is that the owner and the group is still root, so we have to change the permissions by running this. And if you check the previous command again, still we're going to see that this is the root.var. It has the user and the group has changed to Tomcat. So next, what we're going to do now is that we're going to start Tomcat. And verify that Tomcat is up and running. That is it, up and running. So we have to copy the IP address of our instance. Since we are checking Tomcat, remember I said earlier on that Tomcat is running on port 8081, so we're going to run port 8081 to be sure that our application has been deployed there, and there it is. We see it's going to load and make us see that our application has been deployed. So we're going to be patient a bit for it to display deployed. While that is loading, let's verify our architecture again and see how far we have gone. What we have simply done is we have just run our EC2 instance and installed Tomcat in it. We have not done so much, but for now, we have now to see how to configure Jenkins to be able to run our build, our scan and deployment on EC2. So this is our application that has been deployed. So now we are sure that our web server can deploy our application. We have seen how we can build manually and deploy our application. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to use Jenkins now to automate this process. So presently we are going to set up Jenkins. So let me copy the URL for Jenkins. Instead of 8080, I'm going 8081. I'm going to run 8080, which is going to lead me to Jenkins. So first off, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to set up Jenkins. When I install Jenkins for the first time, it shows me this page. I have to come to this file path and search for the secret that is there and come and paste it here. So what I need to do is just to come back to my screen. Clear my screen and run sudo cat, and now have to paste. That is the secret text. I'm going to copy it back to Jenkins and paste it there. Once for first time setup of Jenkins, we need to install the suggested plugins. This the power around Jenkins is all around its plugins. So after installing the suggested plugins, we have now to create our admin user. Let me call it Lumia, since the project is built around Lumia Tech. So let me call the user, let me give the username Lumia and password Lumia as well. Full name, let me say Lumia Tech. Email, let me put in my email, save and continue. Change password. Anyways, it's not for something serious for now. So let me start using Jenkins. So initially what I have to do here is that I have to first of all set up Jenkins to be able to run my different build stuff. So let me first of all install the very basic plugin that I like to install. First I have to go to manage Jenkins plugins. I'll come here to stage view. So this plugin actually permits us to have a graphical interface of how the pipeline is building. So once it's installed, I'm going to now configure Jenkins, and we're going to see step by step how to make Jenkins work. So let me come back to Jenkins and run create job. Let me give it a name as Lumia CI/CD pipeline. It's a pipeline, and let me go with OK. So now I have to configure my project. I can optionally give a description. Here I don't have something to select here based on the project I want to do. Now I want to set my trigger so that when any push is done to GitHub, we want our pipeline to be triggered automatically. So when we do this configuration in Jenkins, we'll have to go to GitHub and do something there as well. For pipeline, we'll not run the pipeline script because we will not paste our pipeline here. If not, we'll always have to edit Jenkins to edit our script. But if I run the pipeline from SCM, we can allow our script in our GitHub repository. So for the source control management, I'll choose Git, and here it's expecting the GitHub URL. So I'll come here and still copy the GitHub URL that I used to clone and paste it here. Now, since it's a public repository, here it's public, so I don't need credentials. I don't need any credentials here. But if it was private, I would have set up an SSH and use rather SSH here, or other credentials like username and password for Jenkins. So now for the branch, my branch here is main, so I'm going to edit that to reflect what I have. That is main, and I'll allow the rest as default. If you can see in this if you can see in this window on my GitHub repository, my Jenkins file is found in a root repository, so I'm going to allow it to be there. And now configure, I'll just allow it here to be Jenkins file. If it was under another folder, I would have given the full path of that file. So what I'll do now is that I'll run save. Now we talked of the Jenkins file. Let's go to the Jenkins file and see its content. So inside the Jenkins file, it's the code that declares how our pipeline is supposed to run. So first off, for agents, I'm selecting any. That's since we have only one that is running, by the way, so we can select any. But if we had other agents, we would have selected on which agent the pipeline was supposed to run. For the tools, we are configuring Maven. We have to give it the Maven path and JDK 17. Remember I said our application runs on Java 17, so we have to give both of that. For the environment, we have to give environment variables. Tomcat home, this is where our Tomcat has been installed. And for the var file, if you remember inside our target that we built, I had run build locally, so that's why I have this here. So we have LumiaTech v1.var. How do we get this naming convention? It's actually set up inside this pom.xml. So we have our artifact ID, which is LumiaTech. Our version is v1, and the packaging is .var. So this is all of it that has been set here. The rest are dependencies and stuff that needs to compile to build our artifact. So we are not interested in all of that for now. So back to our Jenkins file, what we actually have therefore for the first stage, we have to check out, this is like pulling our code into our Jenkins. Secondly, we have to build the artifact by running nvn clean package -d skip test. I actually run this command earlier on when I was doing it manually, and after this is done, I have to post this into my command line that's on the logs. So this post goes on the logs. I have to do build successfully, and it's going to list what has been built. That's the LumiaTech .var file. So now the next stage now is going to be test. I have to run nvn test, and after that is going to store this test file there. The next stage is going to be deploy to Tomcat, and this deploy to Tomcat actually is these commands that we saw earlier on that we're copying and pasting. So it's going to run that script. That's why we see it here as it says deploying to Tomcat. So we have to put all of that, we have to wrap all of that inside a script which is going to run all of that step by step. And after that has been done, it's going to post. If it is successful, it's going to run deployment successful. If it fails, it's going to deploy, it's going to run the failure status. Now it's supposed to run health check. This health check stage is actually just to check if Tomcat is up and running, because if Tomcat is up and running, then obviously our application is running. So it's going to run down health check and post always. So it's going to post here always means that it's going to always post in our logs that our application has been completed. Now in case of success, it's going to rather echo this one, that pipeline completed successfully. If it is if it fails, it's going to say pipeline failed, and it's going to ask us to check for the logs and give a tail of the logs here. That's sudo tail, the last 100 lines of this log file. All right, so that's simply what our Jenkins file does. But for now, I'll build it. It is going to fail, so I'm going to show you step by step how to troubleshoot Jenkins actually. So let's first of all run it and see it fail. Okay, so the very first one failed, so I'm going to come and click on this failed button and see why it has failed. So it is complaining that Maven 3, it says workflow script 5 tool type Maven does not have an install of Maven 3 configured. So we haven't configured the tool Maven and JDK. So what I have to do now is that I have to go down and configure JDK on Jenkins. So what I'll do is that I'll come to manage Jenkins, I'll go to tools, and first I'm having JDK here, so I'll say JDK 17. This name is supposed to match what I have inside here. This JDK 17, it has to match that, and as well as Maven. So for Java home, I'm going to run, you remember I did something like usr lib jvm, and I'm going to go and copy the file name that is found there. So let me check here. I'm going to run sudo ls. So I'm going to copy this first one that has been installed. I have Java, all of that, so I'm going to copy this one. If it doesn't work, I'm going to take this other one. So you have Java 17 OpenJDK AMD64. This one is Java 1. Yeah, so let me copy that and paste it there. JDK has been configured. Maven now, I'll call it Maven 3 because there is called Maven 3 as well. I'll put Maven 3 and I'll allow this one to install automatically. So I'm going to save it, and let me run the build command again and see what it is going to indicate as an error this time, because it's still going to fail. We see that there that our pipeline has started. Let me refresh that. We can see the pipeline view. Build artifacts. I'm expecting it to fail after the test. That is, you run the test successfully, and during deployment to the Tomcat is going to fail. The build stage has been successful. You see the first stage, this is checkout. It is found here, that is it. The next one is build artifact, the next is text, and the next one is going to be deployed to Tomcat. So, okay, deployed to Tomcat, it has failed. Let's check why it failed. It says sudo systemctl stop Tomcat. Sudo terminal is required to read the password. So it's sometimes when you are running sudo as a user, sometimes we have to import a password. So Jenkins is trying to run this sudo command, and the system is asking for a password, but Jenkins cannot interact to give me the password. So what we have to do now here is to add Jenkins to the sudoers file. By doing that, I have to come here and open the sudoers file. I'll say sudo vi sudo is going to open me the sudoers file. So I'm going to come here now and edit for Jenkins. Let me say add Jenkins to sudoers file. That's the command there that I need to ports. We need not be biting hard all of this ports. We just need to understand what is going on so that we can go on to the internet and find out what needs to be done. So what it does is that it's going to require the Jenkins not to be requested any passwords again. That's why we see no passwords here. So I'm going to exit and save it. Now if I run my pipeline, I'm expecting it now to be successful. So let me come back here and run build now, and let me wait for it to be successful. We see the time difference between the first and the second. The first, it had to download the dependencies to build our artifact. The second now uses the already deployed, the already downloaded dependencies and just build our artifact. That's why it takes so much lesser time. But now it's deploying to Tomcat. It did not fail anymore as it did fail here because we have added Jenkins to the sudoers file. It has deployed to Tomcat. Now it's checking the health check to make sure that Tomcat is actually up and running. So we see here that the deployment is successful. If you want to see the total logs of our system, we can run. We can come there and we would see it's way much logs, and we see successful. It deployed this one because it's successful. It's talking of localhost, but normally we're supposed to deploy the application, the EC2 instances address. So yeah, execution complete. It has deleted, it has cleaned the workspace, so everything is good and fine. Our application is still deployed here without issues. What I can do next is that I can trigger Jenkins to be able to detect any changes in our Git repository and run that. So what I have to do is that I have to come to my repository under settings. I'll go to webhooks. I already have a webhook there, but I Either I can edit if it's connected to another, or I can delete it and create a new one, or I can just add a webhook from scratch. So let's just add a webhook from scratch. My payload URL is, I have to copy the URL of the Jenkins server. Put it like that, / I think I have to webhook / application.json, and let me add it. After I have added it, I have to verify if it is successfully running through. This is 229, that is it. So let me check recent deliveries. So once I see this green check mark, I should know that it has been successfully configured. So what I'll do now is that if I carry out any changes here, it's going to build my pipeline. So what I want to test is that I want to trigger a failure let's say exit 1 is going to fail without building the artifact, and yeah, the reason is for us to see how the failure is going to look like at the middle of my pipeline. So let me comment this and say trigger failure. Comment. Let me come to Jenkins and check my pipeline to verify if truly it has detected the build. Yeah, so this is it. It detected the changes that I made to Jenkins and it has started build, and unfortunately it failed as expected because I wanted it to fail, right? So now it has failed, and the logs is obviously going to tell me something else, but the previously working application is obviously supposed to be there still, because the application was previously working, but it failed before doing any deployment to Tomcat. So our application continues to function. Meanwhile, we try to troubleshoot what is wrong here. So what I'll do is that I'll come back and correct what I did here, and I would say corrected the failure command so that my pipeline can now run successfully. So coming back to my architecture, what I have done is that I have done Jenkins, Maven build, and EC2 web server. So we have accessed our application from here, and we have seen our application is working fine. So this part of our pipeline is has been successfully done. So after having deployed my application successfully, what now I have to do is that I have to try to include Slack in my application pipeline, such that once there is a build or a failure, I want to get notified on Slack. To do that, I need to have been initially signed into Slack on my computer, and I'll just go to api.slack.com/apps. It's going to take me to this page. These are the different applications that you would have if you have done some before, but if you have, it's the first time you are coming here, you will not see anything here. So what I'll do is that I'm going to create an app, and I would say it's an application from scratch. I would say Lumia Tech CI/CD bot For the workspace, I've signed in just to this workspace, so I'm going to create an app. It's going to bring me here, and this is where I have to configure my application. What I'll do is that I have to come to this OAuth, because this is where I need to generate the token to be used inside my Jenkins. So what I'll have to do is that I have to come to scopes, and I'll add a scope. Let me say I want chat write. I want files write. I want channels read. I want channels I think it's write topic. So let's just leave those for now, and come up here. There's something missing. Okay, so we have to install to our workspace. And after installing, it shows me that it has been successfully installed. This is the bot token name. Let me copy that Slack bot token, and what I have to do now, since the bot has been created, I have to go to Slack now and invite that bot, or to run /invite and then add Lumia Tech CI/CD bot. Is this one? This one is what I created earlier on, but this one is just the one that I'm just from creating. So when I'll do that, it show me here that it has been added successfully. What I'll do now is that I'll have now to go to Jenkins and configure Jenkins to be able to use this bot and send messages to our Slack app. So what I'll have to do by that is that I'll have to come down to Jenkins and go to my powerhouse, which is the plugins, and I'm going to look for available plugins, and I'll go in for Slack. Oh no, I'm supposed to click right there, and install successfully. I have to restart Jenkins after Slack has been installed. Username was Lumia, password was Lumia. And I'll go back to manage Jenkins. Now I have to configure the system to set up the Slack tool that I just installed. So I'll come to the system, I'll scroll down, Slack is somewhere below. Yeah, so the Slack, I have to give it the workspace name, I have to give it the credential, and I have to set up the member, that's the default, the channel that is going to write to. But before configuring system, I need to store this, I have to store this inside my credentials, because Slack is going to generate that. So let me go on system, global, and then add, it's not the username and password, it's a secret text. The text name is secret. I have to paste what I copied, the ID, I would say Slack bot token. The description, I'll do the same, and there we go. I'll come back again to manage Jenkins and go now to system and configure my Slack. What I'll do is that I'll come to Slack, my workspace. To get my workspace name, I'll have to come to Slack, and here I'll click here. I think that's the workspace name, so I'll copy it and set it up there. That's the credential that I saved earlier on, and the workspace name now, the workspace ID, I have to come here, and this is it. This is the workspace ID, that's it here, or the channel ID. I have to copy this and put it here. So let me just type it, Jenkins CI/CD, and I have to check this because it's a custom Slack app bot user. So let me test if the connection is successful. You see there it's telling me that it's successful, and I'm expecting a message inside Slack. It says Slack Jenkins plugin, you are all set on this. This is my Jenkins URL. So let me save. Now after saving this, it does not end there. I have to update Jenkins to display those different messages. So what I did is that I created a pipeline script, that's Jenkins file, that included the Slack post messages. So what it does here is simply an addition to what we had earlier on. So it's supposed to post for success. Is going to send on Slack. We need a Slack channel name, call of good when it's successful, that's green, and then message will say pipeline successful. Is going to give us the job name. Is here we're seeing env, but we've not set up any env because Jenkins has default environment names that it has given, so we can just exploit to them. So for the job is going to give me my job name. For the build is going to give me the build name, and the URL is going to give me the build URL, so that if I want to see the logs, I can go to the URL and see all the logs, and then the app URL is going to give me the app URL. So for this Slack channel, we are still going to use that Jenkins CI/CD, which this is it, that has been set already. So what I'll simply do is that I have to come back here inside my project and configure it to select now my second Jenkins file. Since it's a demonstration video, I didn't change it so that we can see both files. So what I'll do is that I'll have to run this pipeline. I have to type this pipeline script to give the path. So let me say pipeline -scripts / So now it's supposed now to go inside this pipeline scripts and select now that Jenkins file that is there. So let me save it, and I'm expecting it to trigger a build because there is a change in the configuration. If no trigger has been set, I can either run build now here, or I can go and push a change and observe it build. So it's taking off something new because it has realized the change inside the Jenkins file. So it has completely cleared off the previous builds and has started a completely new web UI. Blind Tomcat has been successful, health check successful, declarative post successful. So let's check Slack. Pipeline successful, job Lumia CI/CD build number 6. We can see that we are on build number 6. There's it there. URL, that's the URL for the build for job number 6, and the app URLs. Well, since it's still showing us here localhost, but you can edit it to actually delay the app URL for that Jenkins IP address, the complete URL. So that is it. We have seen how to deploy with Jenkins and implemented into Slack. So what we are going to do next is that we are going to now to stop and destroy all of this and use Terraform to run our infrastructure, and then set up Jenkins again, and include Grafana to see how the total project that works. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to shut down my instance state, terminate instance. I'm going to terminate it. Let me open my project where I have my infrastructure code. So let me open it with VS Code, and from VS Code what I have to do now is that I have to run Terraform apply. But before getting there, let's first of all see the structure of my code. Terraform, this is just a basic, it's just something really very basic, because what I'm doing is here is that as you can see, my state is stored locally, which is not a good practice. It's good to store it remotely, either on Terraform Cloud or in a S3 bucket. So first off, I have my provider. My provider is AWS. Since we're working on AWS, require Terraform version that is 1.0, and my AWS is I require my AWS to be greater than or equal to 5.0. So for my main, I have to search for Ubuntu AMI. I have to search for this. It needs to have this, and it needs to be a latest, most recent one. So this data source is going to return to me the available AMIs, that is Ubuntu. Next, I'm going to search for the default VPC. I don't want to create a new one. I'm going to use for search for the subnets that are inside the default VPC. I'm going to also search for the availability zones, and I'm going to choose an availability zone where I'm going to run my EC2 instance. I'm going to create security group, and inside the security group I need to expose SSH because I have to access my EC2 instance. I gave a wildcard, so it's open to everywhere, but in a real environment we're not supposed to expose it like that unless we are exposing a HTTP endpoint for users to access it. I have a Tomcat port. We are running Tomcat on port 80, so we're going to expose only port 8081 I mean, and we're going to also expose port 8080. So we have 3 ports that we're exposing for this instance, which is good practice. Now for outbound, we are allowing everything, so we're only controlling the inbound traffic. So for our EC2 instance now, we are going to collect the AMI that we declared above, which is this. We're going to select our instance type, which is T3 medium, which is stored inside my variables terraform.tm vars, which is T3 medium. Subnet ID is going to take the very first subnet that is returned in this array. For the security group, we're going to take the security group that has been created above. For associated IP address, we want it to be true. For user data now, we want our user data to actually be the user data that we use to install Jenkins server, to install Jenkins and Tomcat and Maven as we did previously. We want the same user data. Continuing, we want our volume size to be 30 this time. We can use it, we can still take 20 and that will be fine. We want GP3, and we want to delete when our instance is terminated. It depends on, obviously we need our security group to be created before we create our EC2 instance. And for the security group for Grafana, now this is something else. This is another instance that is going to be creating. We want now to create an initialized Grafana, which is first of all going to create the security group allowing SSH and Grafana access, which is on port 3000. It's going to allow everything in the output. And for the Grafana instance, it's going to be similar to what we did above. That is, we are to give first of all create the role, because Grafana needs to be able to access our CloudWatch metrics and script all these metrics that CloudWatch is storing as pertaining to our EC2 instances. And it's going to give it all those permissions. I'm going fast because these are the the policies that it's defining. That's CloudWatch describe alarm for metrics, alarm history, and stuff like that. So we want all of this to be created, and then we are going to attach it to the role. So it's going to create a policies and a role. This is the IAM policy. Let me see. Grafana role is supposed to create this Grafana. Okay, this is the Grafana role that has been created above, and then after it, we have created these policies and we are attaching them to it. So then after all of that, we need now to create now our EC2 instance. This is the AMI, the instance type. We can still take var dot all of that, but we can still hard code it here. Security group, we want our Grafana security group that we created up there. So the IAM role now is what has been created as well. For user data now, user data is simply just going to download and install Grafana, right? All of this, you can find the information about installing Grafana on the download page of our Grafana. So it depends on the security group and obviously the Grafana IAM role. So that's just all for it. For the outputs, we want to output the necessary information about our instance so that we can directly access our different services from here. So what I'm going to do, initially we have to run Terraform init for it to download the plugins and the different dependencies that we need to connect to EC2. So we initialize the backend here. Okay, it's telling us that Terraform has been successfully initialized. We can run Terraform plan to see the different it will actually run a dry run to show us the different resources that are going to be created. But since I have done that before, I'm just simply going to run Terraform apply -auto approve. It's going to create now all those resources, and we're going to go in now and do all the setup as we did initially during the manual configuration. So let's wait for Terraform to create the different resources on our EC2 with our EC2 instances. So here it has run Terraform plan. It's going to create them resources. So after having deployed our application, you see apply complete, and we see that we have 10 resources that have been applied. All of the output values that are inside this file now are going to be displayed at the level of the outputs. So we have all of those. What it interests us now is that we have to go to Jenkins and set up Jenkins. So I'm going to do control-click and open up the Jenkins URL, and it's going to require me to sign in. It did open in this browser. That's not where I'm working. Let me come back to Chrome and open it there. So it wants me to sign into Chrome. It wants me to sign in to Jenkins rather. So I'm going to first of all go into my EC2 instance the new one that have been created earlier on. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to connect to it, and yeah, so we have, these are the two servers that are running. Let's first of all configure this first one. So what is expecting from us now is that we have to check the password. Let me run sudo cat, paste that and copy it, take it to Jenkins and paste it. Install suggested plugins. So what I have to do is I have to configure Jenkins first by my plugins. I have two plugins to install, so I'm going to go in for Slack and for the web UI view. So I'm going to available plugins. Let me see Slack and check this. Let me go for stage view, check that, and let me run install. Okay, all of that have been installed. Let me come back to manage Jenkins again. Under credentials, remember I have a credential for Slack to store, so let me come to system, global credentials, add credential, secret text. Let me paste the secret text, and now it says it's Slack bot token. And do the same thing for the description. Great. Come back again to manage Jenkins system. Let me set up a Slack. For the workspace, let me come to Slack and copy my workspace name. That's the workspace name, DevOps CI/CD. That's the workspace that I signed into. Workspace, credentials, Slackbot token. The channel is Jenkins CI/CD, and I have to select this. That's the connection. Successful. I save that. I still have to go to manage Jenkins, configure the tools, Java and Maven. So let me run JDK 17, Java home. I have user, lib, JVM. Let me copy this and inside here sudo ls copy this, paste it here for the complete path. That's JDK. Let me configure Maven. So I'll go with Maven 3. Install automatically, and that is it. We have configured all of those, so I'm expecting Jenkins now to be able to work. I'm going now to create a job. Linear CI/CD, it's a pipeline. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to select webhooks. I'm going to run the pipeline script, git. I'm going to come here and copy the pipeline URL, the repository URL is on the code. I'll copy it like that, and the repository URL, I'm pasting it there. I don't need credentials. The branch is main. The path to my Jenkins file, pipeline scripts / Jenkins file, and I'm going to say OK. Let me set up my pipeline now, and I'm going to come here and update this to my webhook that I created earlier on. Since I created a new EC2 instance, so obviously the IP address must have changed. So I'm going to edit the second one, or any of those. If the first one was not connected to somewhere, I'm going to make sure that HTTP is not written twice. It's application.json, so I'm going to say OK. And if I want, I can test the recent deliveries. And this one is already showing that it cannot find it because I'm no more using it. I'm going to delete that one. And Tomcat, I have not added Tomcat to the source file. So let me copy the code, copy it like this, and obviously come to here. Is this one working? Nope. I'll say sudo vi sudo. I'm going to scroll down. And I'm going to save my file. And I'm going to build my pipeline again. So I'm expecting, before it runs, let me rapidly copy this IP address, and let us see what will display there by default. 8081. Yeah, so this is the default Apache Tomcat page that when Tomcat has been installed, it displays. So when our application will update it, that's when it's going to change it to show this one. But since this server is no more running, if I refresh, it's going to error. That's what we did before tearing down our server. So it's turning for some time now because it's not seeing anything, but it's insisting. No response, it's going to fail. So Tomcat, when our pipeline runs successfully now, if you refresh this, you see it cannot be reached. Now, if you refresh this, we're not supposed to say this, but rather our application. Okay, so we see that it has changed to login. It's taking some time due to its latency issues. Good. So for now we are going to go in now to Grafana. So let me select my Grafana instance and give it to port 3000. It's going to load. I'm going to configure Grafana. You see, that's our application that has run. Now Grafana, let me do the initial username and password is both admin. You see there. So I'm going to log into it. I'm going to select the new password, anything that can be easily remembered. And submit. So this the very first time that I come into Grafana. This is the very first page that is going to present to me. The very first thing that I have to do is that I have to first of all create a data source, which my dashboard will use actually as the data source to display whatever information is going to be displaying. So let's come here and add our first data source. Let's seek CloudWatch. So for CloudWatch, we have to edit the connection details. We have to use our access key and secret access. The access key and secret access needs to be of a user who have permission to access CloudWatch. So let me come to my console and create an IAM CLI keys for my current user. So I'm going to come here. What I'm going to do is that I have two keys here, but they are not all active. So I'm going to delete one because the highest number of keys that I'm supposed to use is 2. So since I have up to 2, I'm going to delete one of them. Let me delete this. I have to deactivate the key first, then I can delete it. After I have deleted that key, I can now create a new key. CLI, understand, next. I can give a description or tag value. So here, these are the keys, the access key that I'm going to use in Grafana. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to stop the recording and input my keys, and then we'll see you after that. So after putting my secret key and access key, I have to select now my default region. I'm working in US East 1, and let me save and test. Okay, it has successfully connected. Let me come now to my dashboards. My data source has been created already, so let me create a new dashboard and import a dashboard. One thing about Grafana is that you have users that have built dashboards and have put them inside for free for users like you and I. So we can either come here and input the dashboard name. For now we are using 617, but let's come here and let me show you how to search for the different dashboards. So here we have search dashboard. Let's just do EC2, and we have this one. It's true, we have 2 of these, but what I've tested so far that I've admired is this one. So let's look here. We see the ID here is 617, and that's the 617 that I actually put here. So let me load it. You see it has been loaded, and I can either change this key or I can import it. It will import now, and you see it's already displaying the CPU utilization. It's our data source that is scraping this and sending it to me. I can do it for the past 1 hour. So we see this is what has been done so far for CPU utilization. Maximum we have reached has been 17.5. For the credit usage, that's what we have. For network in versus network out, the green one is network in, the yellow one is network out. We have network package in versus network package out. So you see we have full information about our EC2 instance. For our EBS volumes, we don't have data yet, but as we are going to be using, that's how our Grafana is going to be populated. So we have set up our Grafana dashboard. Yeah, so our pipeline built successfully. We have our application that has been deployed successfully. So I hope you like this project.